Alright, making another test video with this iPad. So this is actually the fifth video. Um, yeah, it doesn't. I'm just trying to get rid of that sway thing, or figure out where it came from, or why it does that, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm trying to camera position. So I figured if the iPad is stable, then it won't do that sway thing. But we'll see. No, made for no movement, I suppose. Anyway, point to the video is, so yeah, back on the subject of vegetarianism, just a really nice spiel on the whole subject, really did a great job, and this machine decided didn't like being on for 10 minutes, so I threw it all away. Anyway, so what I was basically explaining is that if we look at the planet Earth, and you can see what the important thing that's going on there is, that you can figure out that it's this conscious experience that's the kind of important stuff, and that some of our conscious experiences are made out of very small events in the real world, very small little things that happen, and sometimes they can be things that we were waiting for 20 or 30 years. Sometimes a long time you can wait for something to happen to get what you're looking for. Can take forever to find love or something like that. And so very small events can mean an awful lot to us and have a tremendous amount of positive value in terms of satisfying and comforting us and relieving our angst and worry and concern. And likewise, very small events can, in terms of how they look, there's only one little event there, but they could mean an awful lot if you're the one sitting on the infected with the wrong disease thing, some kind of horrible bacteria is eating your body away or something. You don't want to be that person. Have your parts cut off and all kinds of horrible, awful things. It's a terrible conscious experience to live with worry about how far that's going to go and how much of your life it's going to compromise and all of that kind of thing. These are horrible circumstances for which we would pay all the money in our pockets and all our possessions. We'd give it all away to avoid, some of us, many of us, I think. We'd give it all away. We'd trade it all in, every glorious moment, to avoid some of the horrors that are possible. Trapped in the earthquake, just horrible things. And so we know this is about what happens in here. This, things that happen inside of this consciousness, the experiences it endures, are very important. People would, as stated, especially when somebody they care about is put in a bad state mentally and internally, threatened with horrible trauma to their sentience, to their feeling capacity, to their emotions, to their welfare, conscious welfare. We'd find it unacceptable. Some people might even blow up the world, over it. So let's not pretend this isn't important stuff. So yeah, this we're living on this planet, and people are just denying a simple truth, that the value is in this sentience. It's not in the ability to count or do abstract math or calculus, or you can go down the list of all the things all the stuff you don't have to have knowledge of to still be a very feeling, viscerally real human being. And the same is true for the animals you're exploiting and eating, abusing. They're mammals, and they have conscious experiences that are very rich. They dream. Sometimes those dreams might be worth a year's worth of living, just as some of your dreams can be very valuable as experiences, very rich and real. And these animals are having the same conscious emotional feelings. They're in this sphere, this game, this sea with you, feeling it the way you're feeling it in a lot of ways, and very rich, and it's just a deny of fact to say that isn't the true value. The part that makes us human, the little silly stuff about where hair grows on our body or some other bullshit, doesn't have anything to do with what's important. What's important is what's going on in the feeling brain, and that's just a truth. So unless you're a religious nut, you really don't have an excuse to make these distinctions. The facts point to the fact that consciousness came before vocabulary and abstract conversation and the development of technologies and all this other crap. This is just extra crap. It isn't what makes us alive. It isn't what makes us feeling. It isn't what makes us conscious. It's an interesting phenomenon that we're capable of communicating in this way with words and concepts and all of that, but it just doesn't make the difference. The difference is still the internal game being played, and that those models are running inside these other mammals. They're in it, as real as you are, and there's just such an obnoxious arrogance in your abuse of them for a rather trivial circumstance. And if some other alien species were to trivialize your consciousness in the same way, pretend that because you weren't as smart as them, you weren't as feeling as them, you'd be able to call them asshole. You'd call them what they are, idiots and morons, fools, fucktards. If they couldn't realize that what you feel is more important than whether you can do four-dimensional chess. How good a four-dimensional chess player you are really doesn't matter. What matters is that you're feeling entity and that your welfare is important. How you live and what you live in is important. And concentration camp life is torturous and hostile and poisonous to your welfare, poisonous to your sentient welfare. And that's how you treat the animals that you eat. You torture them before you eat them. You don't pay the full freight for exploiting them even to a minimum standard. Your exploitation is many times worse than it needs to be or has to be, and it is just for your convenience. And again, if you were to be exploited and used and abused for the convenience of an alien species, you'd call them what they are, asshole. To be fair and call yourselves what you are, recognize what you are. And it can really be seen, the hypocrisy of the human race on so many of these issues. The anti-smoking propaganda has won the day, and people feel all proud of themselves that they're saving people from their own doing harm to themselves, which is such a joke. Telling them that they can't voluntarily sit in the mud puddle, so to speak, and yet they don't have the same standards for their own exploitation of another sentient species, and the abuse and torture of that species. And yet they pass no judgment on themselves for their own behavior, their own torment and torture of sentient creatures. And they place no value on that. And the difference being, too, of course, nicotine is this addictive substance, proven to be, one of the top 3 most addictive substances on Earth, where food preferences are not fit into those categories. A hungry man will be just as happy to eat a roast beef sandwich as he would be a bag of potato chips. Just a fact. There's no need to eat meat. It's just a psychological preference. It's more desirable to people based on their traditional habits. It's a habit. It isn't a dependency. And the fact that people can't even see the difference between those distinctions, when it's to their convenience, when they're giving away somebody else's rights, it's really easy. When some other species is paying the price for the exploitation, it's very easy, because they're not in it. They're not holding a ticket that says, oh yes, it's realistic that some alien race will show up and farm you, okay, chain you up, throw you in a dirty cell. You don't think it's going to happen, so therefore you feel immune. You're not in the lottery, so you justify the lottery, the negative lottery, because you're making a profit off of it. You're exploiting it for your own convenience and nothing else. and then you're calling yourself a decent human being. And you're not decent, you're indecent. You're disgusting, grotesque, obnoxious son of a bitches. You will, like I said, you'll take away rights that aren't yours. You give those away. You'll sacrifice them on the altar of your gods. You know, you'll try to make yourselves feel like humanitarians, you know, by stripping other people of their dignity and self-actualization and personal self-investment in their own life. You'll steal their judgment away from them, their right to invest their own welfare in their own judgment, because there's nobody going to do it to you. And you're just an ugly, disgusting mob defending your mobbery. You know, your yobs, disgusting, you know, abusive, nasty organisms. So, you know, look at the image on the iPad and see yourselves for what you are. Monsters. Assholes. Because if your behavior was manifested into some other creature, you'd see it for what it is. You'd be able to recognize the exploitation, recognize the gluttony, recognize the false heroism, again, sacrificing other people's rights to do your good deeds in the world. So convenient that you you make your cures boiling somebody else's babies in the pot. Yeah, it's somebody else's eye of newt. It's not your newt. You know, you're not pulling the eyes out of your own goddamn newts. So anyway, so just, you know, I see you. I see you for the bastards that you are. Yeah, you didn't fool me. So, enough of the video.